relationship?
Not particularly, no. I mean, obviously she has pressures that she's taken on and things, but we spend a lot of time together. We still do a lot together as a family, and I think that's sort of the heart for all of us, is having a really close family.
The moment the information reached Prince William, the atmosphere around Kate Middleton's return reportedly changed. A private family conversation, words that were never meant for palace ears, had somehow traveled beyond the people who were supposed to hear them. And at the center of the mystery was Pippa Middleton, the sister who has spent years carefully staying away from the most sensitive parts of royal life. According to the reports and speculation surrounding this story, Pippa had spoken about something deeply personal concerning Kate's future. Not a public speech, not a carefully prepared interview, something far more uncomfortable, something said in the privacy of family conversation, where a sister could speak without cameras, advisors, microphones, or royal expectations hanging over every word. Then William reportedly wanted answers, who repeated what Pippa had said, who allowed the conversation to travel, and perhaps most importantly, why did those words matter enough for the palace to take notice? Because this was allegedly not just about Kate's health, and it was not simply another piece of royal gossip. The deeper issue was said to involve Kate's return to public life, and the enormous pressure surrounding what that return would eventually look like. And if there is even a grain of truth behind the speculation, the most uncomfortable part may be what Kate allegedly expressed when she believed she was speaking only among people she trusted. Hi viewers, if you believe Kate deserves to have her private choices respected, would you leave a simple yes in the comments? Because sometimes saying nothing allows other people to decide the story for someone else. If this story matters to you, support the channel with a like, share it with someone who follows the royal family, and subscribe so this story does not disappear beneath the next royal headline. The reason this alleged conversation has attracted so much attention is simple.
Call any night and say, hey Kate, it's Pippa, let's just do girl talk like we used to?
We have a very normal sisterly relationship. We're very close, and we support each other and get each other's opinions.
Inside a palace, it can become a question about schedules, responsibilities, appearances, expectations, and the future. And suddenly a conversation between two sisters becomes something much larger. That is where William reportedly enters the picture. The story does not portray him simply as an angry husband demanding silence. The more interesting interpretation is that he wanted to understand how private information had traveled so far beyond the people who were supposed to hear it. If Pippa had spoken, was she trying to protect Kate? If someone else repeated the remarks, why? Was the conversation misunderstood? Was one sentence taken out of context? Or had someone deliberately decided that the palace needed to know what Kate had allegedly been saying in private? Those questions create a problem with no easy answer. Because William could be facing two responsibilities at once. He is Kate's husband, the person closest to her during one of the hardest periods of her life. But he is also the future king, surrounded by an institution that depends on planning, appearances, and information moving through controlled channels. When those two worlds collide, even a private family comment can become dangerous. And there is another detail that makes the situation even more intriguing. The Middleton family has already been publicly associated with supporting Kate through her health crisis. Her brother James has spoken about the difficult period the family experienced, describing it as a challenging time and discussing the support offered to his sister, Tatler. So the idea of Pippa being concerned about Kate is not difficult to understand. The mystery is what happened after that concern was allegedly expressed. Somewhere between the private conversation and the palace, something changed. A remark became information. Information became a question, and that question eventually became something William reportedly wanted answered. The most important clue may therefore not be what Pippa allegedly revealed. It may be what happened immediately afterward, because if the private conversation really reached palace ears, someone had to carry it there. And before William could understand what had happened, he would first need to know exactly what had been said. That is where the story becomes far more uncomfortable, because the next question is no longer whether Pippa spoke, it is whether someone else was listening. Before anyone could explain what had happened, the damage was already spreading. Pippa Middleton had become the name at the center of a question that William reportedly wanted answered immediately. What had she said about Kate? Who had heard it? And why had a private family conversation suddenly become important enough to reach royal ears? The answers were still unclear, but one thing was becoming harder to ignore. The alleged leak had turned a quiet family concern into a palace problem. And the deeper mystery had only just begun to surface because nobody knew who had carried the words outside.
I think that Charles really made every effort to welcome Kate into the family. He said that they were close. He said that William was very, very lucky to have found Kate.
That uncertainty matters because Pippa has never needed royal status to command attention. Her connection to Kate did that for her. Long before the latest rumors, she was simply the younger sister who understood Kate before cameras did. Yet the world learned her name in a very public way. When Kate married William in 2011, Pippa stood beside her as maid of honor, a role officially confirmed by the palace. That moment transformed her from a private family figure into someone the public watched closely. But fame never changed the central fact that she remained Kate's sister first, not royal. That distinction is crucial now. Pippa belongs to the family circle, but she does not carry the formal burden of royal duty. She can step away from a public engagement without creating headlines about constitutional expectations. Kate cannot do that so easily. Her every appearance can become a measure of readiness. Her every absence can become a question. Her every expression can be studied for meaning. That difference gives Pippa an unusually important position. She can understand Kate as a sister before understanding her as a royal figure. That is precisely why her alleged words carry so much weight now. Before the palace question came, the public knew Pippa mainly through moments beside Kate. She had been there at the wedding, at family occasions, and during milestones that quietly revealed how close the sisters remained. Yet public visibility never meant public access. Pippa built a separate life away from royal schedules. She married James Matthews in 2017, and together they built a family of their own. That mattered because it gave her a world beyond palace corridors. She could understand the machinery without belonging to it. And that made her alleged perspective potentially more valuable, not less, to Kate privately. Kate did not need another advisor telling her how to survive the public gaze. She needed someone who knew the silence before the headlines. That was the role Pippa had occupied for years. She knew the family jokes, the private habits, the fears that never reached newspapers. She could hear uncertainty in Kate's voice without needing an explanation. That closeness also created danger. The closer a person stands to a secret, the more explosive the secret becomes if it escapes. And if the alleged remarks were genuine, they were never meant for palace strategy meetings or public debate at all. That is why the question surrounding Pippa feels larger than gossip. It concerns trust. Sisters can disagree, worry, protect, and speak freely without imagining that every sentence might become a headline. Pippa has previously described her relationship with Kate as close, normal, and supportive, a description that makes the alleged leak even more striking. If private words were truly repeated, the breach would not merely expose an opinion, it would expose a confidence between sisters. And once confidence becomes palace information, it can no longer be taken back. The damage remains, even if the speaker never intended anyone else to hear. That possibility also explains why the alleged story cannot be understood without looking at Pippa's public history. She did not build her reputation by constantly discussing Kate. In fact, much of her appeal came from seeming to maintain a boundary between family and fame. Her first major burst of attention came because of Kate's wedding, when millions watched her serve as maid of honor. Suddenly, photographers followed her, commentators discussed her clothes, and strangers wanted to know her. But the spotlight did not become the life she wanted. She remained separate from the machinery that shaped Kate's days outside. That separation became important after Kate entered royal life. Pippa could watch her sister adjust to rules that had never existed in their childhood. There were schedules, security, advisors, public expectations, and a constant awareness that ordinary family moments could become public material. Yet inside the Middleton family, the sisters could still speak without ceremony. That private contrast is exactly what gives this story its emotional pull. If the alleged conversation happened, it may have been powerful precisely because Kate was not speaking as a princess. She was speaking as a sister to another sister who already knew her completely. And then came the question of the audience. Why would anyone repeat such a conversation at all? Perhaps the words sounded more serious outside their original setting. Perhaps someone misunderstood a private concern as a firm decision. Perhaps a comment about slowing down became a rumor that Kate wanted to step back. Or perhaps the story was never as simple as that. These are possibilities, not established facts. No credible public record confirms that Pippa secretly told palace advisors what Kate wanted. Yet the rumor survives because unanswered questions are irresistible, and that is where the next clue waits now. The clue is Pippa's own history of speaking about Kate. When she finally gave her first television interview, she described their bond as normal and sisterly. That statement matters because it reveals the line she had publicly drawn.
Your relationship?
Not particularly, no. I mean, obviously she has pressures that she's taken on and things, but we spend a lot of time together. We still do a lot together as a family, and I think that's sort of the heart for all of us, is having a really close family.
Kate could be royal, but inside the family she was still simply Kate. Pippa could support her, tease her, advise her, and share ordinary family moments. There was no suggestion that every private conversation belonged to the public. So when today's rumor claims that Pippa suddenly broke that boundary, the contradiction becomes the story itself. What changed? Who changed it? And why? Those questions also point toward William. He married into a family where private conversations could once remain private. But royal life changes the meaning of information. A casual remark can become a briefing. A concern can become a rumor can become a headline. And a headline can force a response from people who never heard the original words. That is the trap at the center of this story. William would not need to know every detail of Kate's conversation to become concerned. He would only need to believe that something private had escaped. Once that possibility exists, trust is threatened. That is also why the title carries such weight. William demands answers, sounds like confrontation, but the deeper tension is not necessarily anger. It is the collision between marriage and monarchy. William may want to protect Kate from unnecessary pressure, while the institution may need certainty about her plans. Pippa, meanwhile, represents the family voice that can ask a question the palace cannot easily ask. What does Kate actually want? That question is dangerous only if the answer conflicts with expectations, and perhaps that is exactly why the alleged remarks became so sensitive. They may have exposed the truth about priorities, not scandal. That distinction changes everything. A scandal suggests wrongdoing. A private preference suggests something far more complicated. Kate might simply have wanted a slower return, more family time, fewer demands, or greater control over when she appeared. None of those wishes would automatically mean she wanted to abandon royal duty. But once a private preference is reported as a decision, people begin treating it as rebellion. That is how misunderstandings grow. One sentence becomes an interpretation. The interpretation becomes a story. The story becomes a palace concern. And suddenly William is allegedly asking questions about something that started with love. And that is where the emotional pressure becomes impossible to ignore. If Pippa really spoke, then her choice could be judged from every direction. If she stayed silent, people might accuse her of hiding something. If she spoke, critics could say she betrayed Kate. If someone else repeated her words, Pippa could be blamed for a breach she never intended. And Kate would remain caught between family trust and public expectation. That is why the alleged silence matters almost as much as the alleged revelation. Sometimes the revealing part is not what someone says, but what everyone fears they might say. For now, the alleged story remains suspended between rumor and revelation. But one thing is clear. Pippa matters because she knows Kate is family, not institution. Her words, if they were ever spoken, would come from that position, and that makes the final question impossible to ignore. Did Pippa protect Kate by speaking, or did someone else turn her private concern into palace information? If viewers believe privacy should matter, they can prove it by leaving a comment, subscribing, and sharing this story. Because when people refuse to let rumors decide a person's private life, they force the conversation. William did not wait for another headline before demanding answers. The question reaching him was simple, but deeply unsettling enough. Someone had repeated something Kate believed would remain private forever. The words reportedly concerned Kate's return and pressure surrounding it. Then Pippa's name entered the conversation, changing everything around them. No official palace statement has confirmed this alleged confrontation yet, but rumors rarely need certainty before becoming powerful stories online. They survive because unanswered questions invite people to imagine possibilities, and this particular question touched the future of Kate directly. More importantly, it touched the trust inside her family too. The alleged issue was not whether Kate wanted royal life, it was whether she could return on her terms again. That distinction changed the meaning of every reported remark completely. A concern about pressure could sound like something else publicly. A request for time could become a perceived rejection overnight. And once that interpretation spread, William faced another problem immediately. He needed to know whether Kate's wishes were being respected fully. But there was another question hiding beneath that one too. Who had decided those private feelings belonged elsewhere too? And why did that person believe William needed answers immediately? For Kate, the pressure had never existed in isolation anyway. Her public role had always demanded careful balance every day. Family responsibilities existed besides ceremonies, meetings, appearances, and expectations constantly. After everything she endured, that balance carried new weight emotionally. A return could therefore mean more than stepping outside again. It could mean accepting an entire system around her again. That system had schedules, advisors, expectations, and relentless public attention. Even small changes could create speculation about larger decisions ahead. That was why one private remark could become explosive overnight, and William reportedly understood that danger better than most people. He knew Kate's return would be watched from every angle. A photograph could become evidence of confidence or fear instantly. A missing appearance could generate 10 different theories before sunset. A short statement could trigger questions about plans never announced. That environment made privacy especially valuable to Kate personally again. She had already made clear that personal matters mattered deeply. So any private concern about returning deserved careful handling indeed. But careful handling becomes difficult when information starts moving outward. Once a secret leaves family space, control becomes fragile quickly, and the alleged conversation may have crossed that boundary already. That possibility placed Pippa under an entirely different spotlight overnight. Pippa had experienced intense attention before, but not like this. The 2011 wedding made her instantly recognizable around Britain too. Yet her most important identity remained outside royal machinery entirely. She was a sister before becoming a headline. The attention was not something she had sought deliberately either. It arrived suddenly and followed her long afterward too everywhere. That experience taught her how quickly privacy could disappear completely, so the alleged disclosure would represent an unusual reversal indeed. The sister who understood attention was now inside it again, and that made every alleged word more dangerous than before. If Pippa spoke, the world would listen very differently now. If someone quoted her, the meaning could change instantly too. If someone embellished it, the consequences could become enormous quickly. That was the danger hiding beneath the rumor itself quietly. There was another reason Pippa's position mattered so much here. She had previously described the sisters' relationship as normal publicly. That description revealed something important about their private world together. Royal titles did not erase their ordinary family connection completely. They could still support each other behind closed doors quietly. That private bond made the alleged breach feel deeply personal. It was not simply information leaving an office somewhere either. It was intimate information leaving trusted family space without permission, and that difference changes how the entire story feels emotionally. Suddenly, William's alleged demand becomes easier for everyone to understand. He was not merely chasing a rumor for himself either. He was trying to locate the breach before it spread. But locating a breach requires knowing its first source clearly, and that source remained hidden behind the rumor somewhere still. The story then turns from Pippa to the conversation itself. What could have been said that caused such concern inside? The rumored answer is not as dramatic as expected instead. Instead, it reportedly concerned what came next for Kate personally. That meant workload, timing, visibility, and the pressure surrounding appearances. None of those concerns would mean rejecting royal duty entirely. They could simply reflect someone trying to recover carefully first. Yet private caution can sound like public resistance outside quickly. That was the first major twist hiding underneath everything else. The story was not really about whether Kate would return. It was about what kind of return she wanted instead. And that distinction could change every decision around her completely. If Pippa understood that, her alleged words mattered enormously now. Because Pippa did not have to carry Kate's public burden, she could hear fear without translating it into policy immediately. She could hear exhaustion without measuring its political consequences either. She could hear uncertainty and simply respond as family firsthand. That difference matters when private words become palace information suddenly. The palace hears decisions, while families hear emotions first directly. Those two languages can collide without anyone intending harm either. A family member might say, "She needs more time," perhaps. A palace listener might hear, "She is resisting plans now." That is how innocent concern can become institutional alarm quickly. The words did not need scandalous content to cause damage. They only needed to reveal something deeply private and personal. That possibility leads directly to William's alleged demand for answers. He would need to know more than Pippa's name alone. He would need to know what she allegedly said privately. He would need to know who heard it first too. He would need to know who repeated it afterward also. And he would need to know why it traveled outward. Those questions form the heart of the alleged confrontation itself. They also reveal something about William's position here personally. He could not simply ignore information involving Kate's future either. But confronting Pippa would carry its own emotional risk too. If she had spoken from love, accusation could wound everyone. That is where the story becomes less about blame itself. The deeper issue becomes loyalty, privacy, and competing responsibilities inside. Pippa could believe she was protecting her sister deeply personally. William could believe he was protecting her too from pressure. The two intentions could coexist without creating a villain there. Yet if information leaked, somebody would still face questions soon. That person could be Pippa, or someone around her instead. The rumor provides no reliable answer to that yet publicly, and that uncertainty is exactly what keeps the story alive. Every missing detail creates another possible explanation for viewers online. Every explanation creates another reason for viewers to keep watching. And now the story reaches its most sensitive point yet. The alleged private meeting becomes impossible to ignore any longer. If such a meeting occurred, its purpose matters enormously now. It would explain why advisors might have become concerned suddenly. It would also explain why William wanted clarity so urgently, but the alleged meeting itself remains unverified publicly at present. No official record identifies such a gathering between these people. That absence does not prove the rumor false either automatically. It simply means the most dramatic details remain uncertain for now. Yet the rumor persists because the pieces seem connected somehow. Kate's return created questions before the alleged leak appeared publicly. Pippa's closeness made her an obvious person of interest immediately. William's position made the leaked information more consequential than usual, and the alleged meeting gives the rumor its missing bridge. That bridge leads to the central decision surrounding Kate herself. What exactly was supposed to change about her return next? Was the schedule going to become lighter for her again? Would certain appearances be delayed or quietly removed from planning? Would family time receive greater protection than before publicly again? Or was the decision simply about giving Kate more control? Those possibilities sound ordinary until palace expectations enter the picture. A gradual return can be compassionate and practical for everyone, but it can also signal a changed approach entirely inside. That is why the alleged decision matters so much now. The first major twist therefore becomes clearer here for viewers. The alleged revelation was never simply about Kate's illness alone. It was reportedly about what illness changed inside her personally. It changed how she could view pressure and duty forever. It changed how family moments might compete with appearances publicly. The illness did not necessarily change her commitment to service, but it could change the limits she accepted personally now. That subtle shift is exactly what gossip can distort quickly. A request for protection can become a supposed rebellion overnight, and that may be the real reason William reacted strongly. The second twist emerges when the alleged leak changes meaning. It may not have exposed Kate against her will deliberately. It may have exposed pressure surrounding her instead of everything. That would make William's demand less about silencing Pippa personally. It would make his demand about locating the breach itself. Because if someone transformed concern into gossip, trust collapsed quickly, and trust is harder to rebuild than any schedule ever. The palace can revise calendars, statements, and public appearances easily. Trust between sisters does not repair through scheduling alone either. That is why the alleged source becomes more important now. Finding the source could reveal whether this was intentional originally. It could reveal whether Pippa was ever responsible herself there. It could reveal whether another person repeated everything instead later. And it could reveal whether the alleged leak was distorted. Those possibilities keep the central mystery alive for everyone. But there is one more detail that matters deeply here. Pippa's closeness to Kate makes this intensely personal for everyone. The pressure therefore shifts toward the person who spoke first. If Pippa truly broke silence, intention becomes central to everything. Was she trying to protect Kate from another impossible demand? Was she trying to make William understand what Kate felt? Or did someone else take her words and reshape them? Those questions cannot be answered simply through palace silence alone. If this breach feels wrong, your like becomes quiet resistance. Sharing this story refuses to let silence decide everything again. Subscribing keeps this conversation alive when rumors fade from memory. Perhaps they were protecting something even harder to name privately. That is where William's demand reportedly becomes most revealing again. He was allegedly searching for the person behind the breach. But the real answer may have been much closer already. The breach may have started with genuine concern, not betrayal. That possibility changes how Pippa's silence should be understood too. It turns the story from scandal into a family dilemma. And family dilemmas rarely have clean winners or villains either. They leave people choosing between loyalty and uncomfortable truth instead. So the next question becomes impossible to avoid any longer. Who actually carried Pippa's words into William's world without permission? And what did William discover when he finally followed it? But before that answer emerges, one possibility looms largest still. Then the alleged meeting suddenly became the most dangerous question. No one outside the family was supposed to know anything. Yet William reportedly wanted answers before another detail escaped publicly. Someone had carried private concerns beyond their original circle quietly. That changed everything surrounding Pippa, Kate, and William almost instantly. The issue was no longer simply about Kate returning publicly. It was about who knew what Kate privately wanted instead. And that question reached directly into the family's trust itself. For the first time, Pippa stood inside the controversy directly. The sister who guarded privacy now appeared connected to it. The public had watched Kate gradually rebuild her public presence. Her official return happened carefully, with appearances carrying unusual weight. Every outing seemed to invite another round of speculation afterward. That pressure made private conversations more valuable than public statements. A family discussion could reveal feelings no briefing ever could. That was precisely what made this alleged meeting so dangerous. If Kate expressed concern, context would matter more than headlines. If Pippa repeated it, intention would matter more than wording. If another person repeated it, everything could change overnight again. And William reportedly needed to know which version was true. The first possibility was simple, and perhaps most painful too. Kate wanted space before accepting everything again publicly. That would not mean rejecting duty or abandoning anyone entirely. It would mean protecting recovery from unnecessary pressure for longer. For William, that distinction could become critically important immediately. He could support her privately while managing expectations publicly. Those responsibilities were never completely separate inside royal life. Every personal decision eventually touched public responsibility somewhere else. That reality made private disagreement unusually difficult for them both, and it gave the alleged leak much greater significance. At this point, viewers are not watching ordinary palace gossip. They are watching trust become the battlefield behind public smiles. If someone carried Kate's private worries outward, that mattered deeply. If nobody challenges that behavior, every private conversation becomes vulnerable. So if viewers believe Kate deserves protection, they should act. Leave a comment saying protect Kate if that feels right. Hit like instead of letting another rumor control this story. Share it so the conversation cannot quietly disappear tonight again. Subscribe if they want every question pursued to its ending, because silence can sometimes become permission for stories to spread. Yet the biggest question was waiting behind that private concern. What happened after those words supposedly left the family circle? That was where the alleged meeting became important to William. If advisors heard something unusual, they might seek clarification quickly, but clarification could become confrontation when family trust was involved. William reportedly wanted the chain of information understood clearly first. He needed names, facts, timing, and context before judging anyone. Without context, even innocent words could appear deeply threatening publicly. That was why the alleged source mattered so much now, because whoever repeated it controlled how Kate's feelings were understood. The alleged source could have misunderstood Kate's actual meaning entirely. A private hesitation might sound like a final decision publicly. A request for rest might sound like royal resistance outside. A family opinion might become palace policy without warning overnight. That possibility created tension around every missing detail afterward. William could not safely assume the rumor was accurate, but he also could not dismiss it completely either now. Kate's well-being made careless assumptions especially dangerous at this stage. Pippa's closeness made her involvement especially sensitive for everyone involved, and the palace had every reason to want clarity too. But there was another possibility that changed everything completely. The information might not have come from Pippa directly either. Someone nearby could have repeated only part of it privately. Another person could have added meaning that never existed originally. A harmless comment could become a dramatic palace briefing overnight. That was how rumors gained strength inside closed circles quickly. The original speaker often disappeared beneath the final version completely. Soon nobody remembered where the first words had originated anymore. Only the alleged message remained circulating through increasingly nervous people, and that message now pointed toward Kate's future again directly. The timing made the situation even more emotionally charged too. Kate's public return was already being watched intensely again. Her appearances carried reassurance for supporters and family alike outside. They also carried expectations that could become overwhelming quickly again. The palace needed plans, but Kate needed breathing room too. William had to navigate both realities at once, publicly, daily. Pippa could understand the second reality more intimately, personally too. That did not make her an enemy of royal duty. It made her potentially the person asking difficult questions instead, and difficult questions become dangerous when nobody wants them publicly. The alleged meeting therefore became a test of trust itself. If advisors were present, what exactly had they heard there? If Pippa attended, what exactly had she revealed there privately? If William confronted her, what answer did he actually seek? The most obvious answer was not necessarily the real one. He may have wanted reassurance rather than punishment from Pippa. He may have wanted Kate's wishes protected from distortion outside. He may have feared outsiders exploiting vulnerable family information deliberately. Or he may simply have wanted the rumors stopped immediately. Each possibility gave the confrontation a different emotional meaning entirely. None could be confirmed merely through silence from palace officials. That silence, however, only made speculation grow louder afterward online. When official voices remain quiet, people search for hidden clues. A missing explanation becomes a blank space for imagination everywhere. A delayed appearance becomes evidence to someone somewhere immediately online. A private meeting becomes a mystery with endless interpretations again. That does not make every interpretation true or reliable either. It simply explains why the story refuses to disappear quietly. The alleged confrontation survives because it contains competing loyalties inside. Pippa could protect Kate while creating another problem unintentionally too. William could protect Kate while appearing controlling from outside again. That contradiction is what gives the story its emotional force. Nobody has to be completely right or completely wrong here. Family loyalty rarely works in such simple categories either. Pippa's position would be painful whichever choice she made there. Silence could leave Kate carrying pressure without enough support again. Speaking could expose private feelings she wanted protected deeply inside. William's position would be equally difficult under scrutiny too outside. Ignoring the alleged leak could allow rumors to multiply further. Confronting the source could fracture family trust further again too. And protecting Kate could require making uncomfortable choices publicly sometimes. Then came the question that could change everything again overnight. What if the alleged decision had already been altered privately? What if Kate's return was never meant to look traditional? What if fewer appearances were actually being considered privately already? What if family priorities were finally taking greater importance inside? None of those possibilities meant abandoning royal responsibilities entirely either. They meant changing the balance surrounding those responsibilities instead gradually. That distinction could explain why the alleged remarks mattered deeply. It could also explain William's urgency in seeking clarity now, because a changed schedule can signal a changed philosophy entirely. The first major twist now becomes impossible to overlook here. Pippa's alleged revelation was not simply about Kate's health alone. It concerned what Kate supposedly wanted after everything endured personally. That was far more personal than another medical update anyway. It touched motherhood, marriage, duty, recovery, and personal boundaries deeply. It touched the person beneath the public image too completely, and that made the alleged leak deeply uncomfortable for everyone. The second twist followed closely behind that realization as well. William's alleged demand was not necessarily about silencing Pippa personally. It was about discovering whether trust had been broken deliberately. If someone deliberately leaked, the conversation motives mattered enormously there. Was someone trying to pressure Kate into returning sooner publicly? Was someone trying to weaken William's position inside the family? Or had nobody intended the consequences that followed afterward either? Those possibilities cannot be treated as established facts today either. Yet each one changes how viewers understand the confrontation entirely. A deliberate leak suggests betrayal and calculated pressure inside already. An accidental leak suggests fear, confusion, and misunderstanding instead perhaps. A distorted leak suggests something even more troubling altogether again. Someone may have transformed concern into controversy for attention online.
And that brings the story back to Pippa herself. Her public image has always been complicated by proximity. She became famous because her sister entered royal life. But she never became part of the monarchy itself. That boundary allowed her to remain family rather than institution. It also meant her words could carry unusual emotional weight. When she speaks about Kate, people hear more than words. They hear family history, loyalty, and private knowledge too instantly. That makes any alleged revelation incredibly powerful and dangerous simultaneously. It can help Kate or expose her depending on context. It can defend her or unintentionally increase pressure around her. And that is why William reportedly wanted answers quickly now. He needed to know whether Pippa was actually responsible herself, or whether someone had used her words for purpose entirely. Either way, Kate remained at the center of everything again. The private conversation had become a public problem somehow overnight. But the final question remained unanswered inside the rumor still. Who first carried those words beyond Pippa and Kate privately? Who transformed concern into information William reportedly needed urgently there? And what did William discover after following the trail closely? Those answers could change the meaning of everything already heard. Because the real revelation may not involve Pippa alone either. It may involve someone much closer to palace decisions instead. If viewers want answers, they should subscribe before it surfaces. And if that person deliberately repeated them, motives matter deeply. The next revelation therefore begins where the trail disappears again. The question William reportedly wanted answered was finally no longer about Pippa alone. It was about Kate, her future, and the private fears that may have surrounded her return. If the alleged conversation was repeated, then someone had transformed a family concern into palace information. That transformation matters because Kate's public recovery has always carried enormous emotional weight. She has already faced questions about her health, her schedule, and her future. Yet behind every public appearance stands a person trying to reclaim normality. And perhaps that is why Pippa's alleged silence became so powerful. Sometimes the loudest revelation begins with words never intended to escape. For years, Pippa has occupied an unusual position beside Kate. She understands the world surrounding royalty without being trapped inside it. She knows what cameras can do, how quickly harmless moments become headlines, and how easily strangers can believe they understand a family they have never met. That experience makes the alleged conversation particularly significant. If Pippa really discussed Kate's concerns, she may have been speaking from the perspective of a protective sister rather than someone attempting to challenge the monarchy. That distinction changes the emotional meaning completely. Protection can sometimes look like interference when private family choices enter public territory. And this is where the story reaches its deepest question. What if Pippa was not trying to expose Kate at all? What if she was trying to protect her from becoming trapped by expectations again? That possibility would explain why the alleged remarks focused less on abandoning duty and more on controlling the pace of Kate's return. A person can want to serve while needing limits. A wife can support her husband's future while protecting her own well-being. A mother can love her responsibilities while needing more time with her children. None of those desires automatically represent rejection. They represent boundaries, and boundaries can become controversial when royalty is involved. That may also explain William's reported reaction. His demand for answers would then have a different meaning. Rather than simply asking why Pippa spoke, he would be trying to understand whether Kate's private wishes had been distorted after leaving the family circle. If someone told him Kate wanted something different, he would need to know whether those words were accurate. If the information had been exaggerated, the damage could be serious. If it had been deliberately leaked, the damage could be even worse. And if Pippa had never intended anyone else to hear the conversation, blaming her could create another wound inside a family already carrying enormous pressure. The most striking possibility is that the alleged revelation was never really a secret about illness. The deeper secret was reportedly about what Kate wanted afterward. That is a much more complicated story because it involves identity, responsibility, family, and choice. Kate's public role has always required her to appear composed. But composure does not reveal what happens when the cameras disappear. It does not show uncertainty after a long day. It does not show the conversations held privately before another appearance. And it certainly does not reveal what someone may fear about returning to a life where every decision can become public property. That is where Pippa's position becomes important. If she really heard Kate expressing those fears, then Pippa would have understood the difference between public duty and private exhaustion. She would have known that a sentence spoken between sisters could never safely survive without context. Perhaps that is why the alleged revelation became so damaging. Once the words reached another person, the original emotion disappeared. A private concern became a piece of information. The information became a question. The question became speculation. And eventually the speculation pointed back toward Pippa herself. That progression is what makes the story so unsettling. Nobody needs to invent a villain when misunderstanding can create consequences powerful enough on its own. There is another possibility worth considering. Someone may have repeated the conversation without understanding its importance. A person could hear Kate expressing uncertainty and assume a major announcement was coming. Someone else could hear that version and attach another interpretation. By the time it reached palace ears, the original meaning might have been almost unrecognizable. That is how private conversations can become dangerous in tightly watched families. The first person speaks emotionally. The second person summarizes. The third person interprets. The fourth person reacts. Suddenly everyone is responding to a story nobody can trace back to its beginning. And William is left asking who changed the meaning. That uncertainty is precisely why the alleged confrontation remains so compelling. William reportedly wanted the chain of events understood. Pippa's name may have appeared because she was closest to the original conversation, but proximity does not prove responsibility. The real question is whether she deliberately shared something Kate expected to remain private. There is no confirmed public evidence establishing that she did. But the rumor continues because the possibility fits the central conflict perfectly. Pippa represents family trust. William represents both family protection and royal responsibility. Kate represents the person whose private wishes may have been caught between them. Those three forces create a tension that cannot be solved by one simple answer. And perhaps that is the real reason this story has attracted so much attention. People are not only curious about what Pippa supposedly said. They are asking whether Kate should have the freedom to decide what her return looks like. They are asking whether family members should be allowed to protect someone without palace expectations interfering. They are asking whether William should demand answers when private information reaches him. Most importantly, they are asking whether a woman who has endured an extraordinary period should be expected to resume an extraordinary life exactly as before. Those questions are larger than gossip. They touch the human cost behind royal duty itself. So if viewers believe Kate deserves to have her own voice instead of having every private feeling interpreted for her, this is the moment to make that position visible. Leave a comment saying, "Kate deserves a choice." It takes only a few seconds. A like tells the platform this story deserves attention. A share keeps the discussion from being buried under another wave of royal headlines. And a subscription makes sure the next part of this story is not missed. Doing nothing allows the loudest version of the rumor to dominate. Supporting the conversation gives viewers a chance to demand something simpler: let Kate's own wishes matter. There is also something deeply revealing about Pippa's role in all this. She may never hold a royal title, yet her connection to Kate gives her access to the part of Kate the public can never fully see. That does not mean every rumor about the sisters is true. It means their relationship carries emotional significance precisely because it existed before the cameras arrived. They grew up together. They experienced family life together. They watched each other change. They became mothers. They built separate lives. And through all those changes, the bond remained part of the private world Kate could return to when public life became overwhelming. That makes any alleged breach deeply personal. William, meanwhile, remains caught between two worlds. He is Kate's husband, but he is also preparing for a future in which every family decision carries institutional consequences. If he really demanded answers, his motivation may have been rooted in protection rather than punishment. He would want to know who had taken private information and turned it into palace concern. He would want Kate's position understood correctly. He would want to know whether someone was attempting to pressure her or simply repeating something they misunderstood. Those are very different situations. And until the original source is known, William cannot know which one he is facing. That uncertainty is the final pressure point. The third and most important twist therefore becomes clear. The alleged revelation was never simply about Pippa exposing Kate. It was about a private family concern revealing a larger conflict over Kate's future. The real issue was not whether Kate would disappear from royal life. It was whether she would return on terms that allowed her to remain healthy, present, and protected. Pippa's alleged words may have brought that conflict into sharper focus. William's reported demand for answers may have exposed how seriously that conflict was being treated behind closed doors. And Kate remained at the center, not as a headline, but as the person whose choice mattered most. In the end, the mystery surrounding Pippa leaves one question hanging above everything else. If she really broke her silence, was she betraying Kate, or was she trying to protect the sister she had known long before royal life changed everything? If someone else carried those words beyond the family, why did they do it? And if William really demanded answers, what did he discover when he followed the trail? Those questions remain part of the speculation surrounding this story, not established palace fact. But the larger truth remains powerful. Behind every royal photograph is a family navigating pressure, loyalty, fear, and love. And sometimes the most important story is the one nobody was supposed to hear,